this episode, we are going to talk about relays and solenoids. And we are going to study the procedure to install and diagnose relays and solenoids. This is basically the schematic. This is position A, position B, and this is copper and copper. Position A, position B, copper and copper, and internally a piece of ferrous alloy, iron, is located in between A and B, but with those springs, that metal is separated. I have a good example in this board that I prepared for yours. I have the star relay. That's the input. This is the output. In this moment is open. In this moment, if I check with the probe, I have power here. I have power here. The light is on, but I don't have power here. When I send the signal positive and negative, that the positive, right now I send the signal here, I have power on the signal, and of course I have power in the output, and of course the light is on. How this relay works? This relay this is the coil. The nomenclature said for the coil, the number for those terminals is 85 and 86. Okay guys, now we are going to verify in the board that I prepared for yours how the post relay works properly. Okay, in this board, the input signal, the signal in the terminal 30, the input signal is coming from this positive common bus bar. And we have two signals, one in the middle. The connection in between 30 and 87A in the middle is normally closed. And the connection in between 30 and 87 outside is normally open. Okay, in this moment, the switch, this is the switch for the power in the coil, this is the negative, and this is the positive. Okay, in this moment the switch is off. No power on the coil. Okay, we are going to check what happened in the external. When I don't have power in the coil, that connection is normally open. Okay. The relay is basically, the solenoid is basically a relay that the external metal goes down. When the coil is activated, the metal goes down and the plunger goes down and close, open and close. When the gap between A and B close, because the signal on the coil enter, the metal goes out. Solenoids are used for millions of applications. Solenoid is the first step to convert electrical signal into mechanical movement. Solenoids is the first step to create robots, because convert electrical signal into mechanical movement. This is the star motor. This is the solenoid of the star motor, and this is the star relay. The ignition switch, remember the ignition switch have one input, is the power coming from the battery, from the positive bus bar, and two outputs. One output, ignition position, and other output, start position. In ignition position, when you select ignition in your car, you remember the first position, ignition, is a permanent position. In that position, you hear that some equipments are activated. The lights on the board, the radio, the fuel pump, you hear the fuel pump, and you hear other equipments be activated. Those equipments are activated because the ignition switch sends the signal and some relays close or open, depending if the relay is normally open or normally closed, depending if the relay is used in the 87A output or in the 87 output. The solenoid is located on the star motor, and the relay is part of the system. What is the function of the relay in a typical marine installation? For what reason you need the relay? You need the relay to avoid that you have power constantly in this point. Remember, what happened in a typical boat for the location of the engines between the starboard engine and the port engine. Normally in a typical boat you have a small space in between the starboard engine and the port engine. You practically have a space to pass one person in between both engines. And where is located the star motor in each engine? in between the transmission and the engine, in the bottom of the engine. If you are working in other equipment, air conditioning equipment, or installing a bilge pumps, and you have tools in your pocket like this, and you don't have relays like this, you have constant power in this terminal. If you are working and you approximate the tool to this point, you can produce a short, you can produce a spark, and you can produce an explosion. In other words, this equipment, the relay, is installed in order to avoid constant power in this terminal. You only have power here when the relay is activated. If the relay is off, you don't have power here. And it's safe to work in other equipment. In marine applications, it's mandatory the installation of the crank relay. It's exactly the same. You can replace one of these, those switches, normally open switches, for the typical ignition switch. In other episode, I am going to explain the procedure to do the wiring for a complete harness for a diesel or gasoline engine. We are going to do the wiring step by step for the engine, diesel or gasoline. And we are going to do the installation of the control box in any type of engine, gas or diesel.